Hello and good morning. My name is Christopher Lau. This is my research partner,
Hi, good morning, Murindal. My name is Vaibhava.
and we are representing Sacred Heart University in the Cybersecurity Awareness Fair.
So here we come up with an idea about agreeing to the terms and conditions. Our title is I agree the risk behind one click. And we are here to present about the Cybersecurity Awareness Fair, which was sponsored by Calpoli Pomano.
Okay, so let's obviously first start with how we kind of came to our subject matter, because obviously, with everyone being familiar with cybersecurity, there are things like ransomware, things like viruses and those sort of deals. But we decided to pick something maybe a little bit more close to home, something that that we pretty much encounter when we use our mobile devices, or pretty much anything that kind of has any sort of service associated with it, and that has to do with the terms and conditions. Um, you know, when you agree to it, what are you really clicking to? What are you clicking to agree upon? I know myself, I use Facebook and I use a lot of those apps, and I never really stopped to actually read through the whole list. So doing with our initial dive, we actually found a lot of things that we found very surprising that we were not aware of. And to kind of tell you more about kind of what we found, I'll hand it over to her.
Yeah, so there were a lot of when we come to the terms and conditions, as soon as I remember terms and conditions, I just remember a very big paper with a lot of statements. So I see terms and conditions in this way. In the same way, there were I use many applications. I go to many websites every day. So I gone through a lot of terms and conditions each day. For example, maybe I come up with 2 or 3 terms and conditions that I agree to each and every day if I use different types of applications. So I'm agreeing to the terms and conditions very often, but how far I read and how far I understand, there's the same case with every person or every user who is using network, social medias, etc. So we realized we analyzed and we realized that there were 81% of users who actually agree to the terms and conditions every day. And there were only 22% of users who actually read this terms and conditions. And I'm in that category who is 36% who never read the terms and conditions. I just scroll down to save my time not to read the terms and conditions. In the same way, there were only 13% of people who actually read and understand to this, and in which I don't opt for read, but there were people who read it, but they typically understand. The terms and conditions are just 13% because of the technical words that they choose, or because it's very lengthy. I just prefer to read 2 to 3 statements, that's all. And even if I read the 2 to 3 statements, it would be completely technical words. A person who is common, who is not aware of such technical words, would barely understand what that technical terms would actually mean. And when we did some of the research about the applications that we use every day, I handed to the Chris.
Yeah, so they're basically, when you kind of sit down and kind of parse through the terms and conditions, it's almost like an onion. There are many different little layers that you have to peel back in order to kind of find things. So in our little figure down here, we looked at a lot of these, but perhaps kind of the overarching thing, for example, for Facebook, there is a thing where they basically state that any material that you post, they can use it for their own gain, basically, to either make a profit or for promotional items, and you don't have any claim to any of the royalties on that. And that's something we found a lot with, that's including Snapchat and the other services. But perhaps one of the biggest, most interesting we found is probably with TikTok. There's a lot of they access a lot of your data, but so for example, the phone, we found under the privacy policy section that it will take all the information from your phone, from your battery life to your keystrokes, into your geolocation data. What is your IP address, the model of your phone. So a lot of different, it just seems like it's a lot more than a company would probably need it for TikTok, which is just posting silly videos. But also, interestingly enough, a big thing too is you can send messages on that application, but under the privacy clause, we found that they will actually look into your messages and potentially store the data, and they didn't really give a good reason as to why they did it. So in some ways, and then not to get super political, but TikTok is also a Chinese company too. So a lot of their data is stored on Chinese servers. So for, basically citizens, it draws the concern, kind of who is looking at, the things that I'm sending, and stuff like that. So when we kind of moving forward, when we look at some of the, so what is the current challenge?
Yeah. So as we see, like there are social media applications which we use every day, and as Chris described it, they're accessing more than what they need, like TikTok or Snapchat or Facebook. So how many, like we just came across with one of the point, like how confident that the users are thinking like the company could protect their data. And we realized that, like we analyzed and we discovered that there are only 3% of people who are very confident about the company protecting their data. And there were like 62% of people who do not believe in the company that they're protecting the customers or the users' data. So in the same way, when we just realized that there were 2% of people who is not believing in the companies who are not confident that the companies could protect their data, they were relying morely on the third-party applications, like protection applications, which could also a kind of threat. Then we realized, like, what happened to the government laws of data protection? Why aren't the people depending on the government instead of the third parties? Then we realized that there are some of the data protection acts. So we came across this. So GDPR is one of the famous, I can say, data protection act, which was introduced in European Union. So in GDPR as well, there were some of the flaws like HIPPA, which is Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. This HIPAA do not protect the user's information from the fitness centers, or your Fitbit data is not being protected by HIPAA. Like, for example, there were, like if I go to gym, the fitness centers would share your data with the nutritionist, so which is not really required. And VPPA, like Video Protection Act, the VPPA do not protect any streaming applications from grabbing your video. Like we can see a lot of YouTubers grab the videos from TikTok or Snapchat or any videos from the other application, and they stream it in YouTube. But it is legally, there is no act against the YouTube of grabbing your videos. I had it to express.
Yeah, and then I think one of the one of the overarching themes is that the current legislation and laws that are currently kind of here are kind of scattered. So, I know in California that you guys have the CCPA, and then, in Colorado they have their own, but, here in Connecticut, we don't really have a well-defined law. And then, so I think, kind of, and then, obviously GDPR is only for citizens of the EU. So this is a good segue into the kind of the recommendations. I think, on a higher level, I think basically, the hope is that through building awareness through fairs like this and projects like this, that hopefully more people can become kind of, more aware of kind of what they're giving out, but also on the other side too, maybe it's time for the government at a federal level to step in and basically kind of have one, more laws that encompass and they kind of blanket everything versus leaving it up to the states to kind of individually come up with their own laws, on their own time. Because as we use these services more and more, and we kind of plug away at it, there's a lot of our stuff is out there, and it's not necessarily being used for our best interests.
And so these are the solutions we come up with, and we also recommend any of the software that could just translate the whole terms and conditions, the lengthy one, into a short with the picturizations or small sentences that a common person can understand. And We also suggest that organizations would give the users choice about their data collection and sharing to the third parties. So here we present our idea about I agree to the terms and conditions.
Yeah, and so thank you for your time. We realized it was a little bit more than 5 minutes, but it's very hard to kind of compress all of this interesting information. But we look forward to hearing from you. All right. So thank you.
Thank you.